That Kira, he's gone and done it again. He's killed another game studio single-handedly by telling the truth. He's gone and done it. Obviously, a little bit of a hyperbole there. We've not actually killed the studio, which is, of course, never my intention. It's just to tell people the truth of what's going on and then maybe sometimes have a laugh about things, because if not, the people who put money into it and didn't get a product, didn't get anything, whereas maybe I can bring you a little bit of entertainment at your expense, at least, of backing some form of game on Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whatever. So today we're talking about Dead Matter, something I've talked about quite a bit recently because it's just another one of those indie messes where people take millions of dollars from the public, tell them they're going to deliver something, and then just can't, because they're not, malevolent or anything. They're not evil people. They're just really fucking shit at their job. They're just really not good. And this is going to be another installment of Dead Matter CEO and all C-level workers, the people with CEO, CFO, C, whatever, OFO, people just being useless. So they released a blog on February 1st, Dead Matter is not dead. This is almost entirely in response to my videos. Multiple months late, of course. I'm not sure exactly why it's taken this long to get an opinion out from the people who apparently have all the receipts and can prove everything wrong. But they don't address the majority of the big points, such as they never announced to the public they were backed financially by Tencent, which, again, they could easily come out. They've not denied this. They've not confirmed it, even though I keep bringing it up. And, of course, I've been told from behind the scenes that Tencent is no longer giving them money, which means that the recent layoffs that they've had, where they fired a whole bunch of people, obviously doesn't make things look good, but they have apparently just hired 13 developers, or 13 staff, not specifically developers. Where the problem arises here, though, is that the 13 people they've just hired are almost entirely all people they previously fired or that previously left the company for various reasons. So I'm just trying to put this into a easy framing for you so you can understand just how fucked up this is. And we're going to get into legal threats as well in a minute, and the fact that they were trying to remove my video because they didn't want me talking about this stuff, which you never want to see, but we'll get to that in a second. So the reason this is so crazy is that the studio under Nick, the CEO, was so badly operated that multiple people quit or were fired for no reason. Then they 180'd and redid their work with these new people that they hired. Then they didn't make much progress, all the while, by the way, of course, paying salaries, paying for office space, spending hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, a lot of which came from the public. And then they brought in Derek, big old Derek, studio head. He was supposed to be the saving grace, the person who was going to be paid, six-figure salary, to come in, turn everything around. He made more people leave, fired more people, tried to bring in people from the studio he was previously at that I'm fairly sure went bankrupt or very close to bankrupt while he was the studio head, so not a very good decision there to hire this dude. Then, after all that happened, he left or was fired. We can't really get a confirmation on that one because he says he left, they say he was fired. And then what starts blowing my mind here is that Nick has since started rehiring the people who were fired or left, which essentially means that they're going back 2 years worth of progression. And we're going to read some quotes here. So this is Johnny Guitar, aka Nick, the CEO of the company, as far as I'm aware. I assume that's his name. I've seen him under Nick's as well. But somebody quotes here, a vote of no confidence was indeed called by one of our C-level executives. The quote is talking about who it was going to be, who was the subject of the vote of no confidence. Now, bear in mind, this is a mostly public Discord channel that this guy is airing the dirty laundry of the company in for just no reason. He won't address the Tencent thing, but he's airing the dirty laundry of how fucked up this company is. So, no, it wasn't. fucking tired of people saying this. Our CFO called a vote of no confidence against himself after our head of studio, aka Derek, the guy who just was fired or left, spent 40 minutes screaming and yelling at him in a boardroom meeting because he refused to DMCA Kira TV. So, get this one through your head, guys. Bear in mind, what's a DMCA? It's a copyright takedown notice, which would strike my channel, which is essentially saying if I get 3 of those, they're going to delete my channel from the internet. And it's because I used footage edited in a transformative manner, which is entirely fair use, to critique and talk about, an investigation into their studio and what's been going on with the studio. So this head of studio, who called me a liar, who said I was slandering him and the company, and then called me a stalker when I found his public Reddit posts, went into a boardroom meeting and screamed at the CFO, the chief financial officer, for 40 minutes because he wouldn't DMCA me. And then the CFO called a vote of no confidence in himself, which then 4 people voted, yes, we want you to be removed. And then he said, no, I don't actually want to be removed, and stayed at the company. And then Derek left or was fired. All the while, by the way, their CEO does nothing about this. It's just going on. People screaming about even what he says here. Keep in mind that it's illegal to treat someone like that, especially if they are refusing an illegal order in the first place. He's even admitting. So their head of studio, 6-figure salary guy, screaming at the CFO to illegally DMCA a content creator. This is how the studio is being run. This is where your money went towards, guys. If you ever needed a more, hard indictment of how fucking just incompetent this studio is, I don't know where you'd get one. This is about as bad as it gets. But let's move on. Now, bear in mind, Dead Matter released this blog where they talk about their side. And within this blog, which is by Nix, the CEO of the company, he specifically says that he's not going to talk about Derek. He's not going to, make public what's going on and air the dirty laundry because he wants to be professional. Now, we can read this quote here. The decision was made based on a number of factors. While I would prefer to go into much more depth on this topic, I would rather demonstrate professionalism, respect, and restraint. This is what he wrote on February 1st, right? Then he goes into the Discord that's public, that anybody who backed the game can go and look at. Somebody asked why you hired him. Good question. One, he came with some pretty good recommendations at the time. Fair enough. He promised that he could solve a lot of issues at the studio. Yeah, of course, that's what people do when they're looking for a job. And that's not even to say he didn't try. The problem is that a large part of his solution was squeezing out the entire legacy team, except for himself and one other person. Ultimately, this led to our development stagnating over the entire course of 2022. Bear in mind, again, CEO of the company watched the studio head that he hired fire everybody, squeeze everybody out, and left him to do this. I caved to a lot of the feedback that I wasn't capable to run the project anymore. If you had some reflection here, you would read what you've just written, see that you are the person who runs this, you're the CEO, you let him do this, you hired him, paid him, and paid him to do this. You watched him allegedly ruin your studio after you ruined your studio for multiple years previously. And now you're saying, I listened to a lot of feedback I wasn't capable, hence why I wanted to bring someone in who could help manage things from the top down. Keep in mind that for most of 2022, I'd relinquished code lead, project management, even though I was in a limited capacity with regards to project management during 2021 to begin with. For a long time, much longer than I'd even like to admit, I didn't think I was the one to run this anymore. You're not. Like, you can't have done this for this many years and be saying I didn't think I was. You are not the one to run this. I was extremely depressed from the fallout of the launch and COVID. Things only got worse for myself and for the studio the more we walked down the path of throwing out the history of the studio and trying to build some weird NWI refugee camp on top of it. NWI being the studio that Derek came from. Regardless, I pretty much realized that with the way things went during 2022 and the trajectory we were on, I managed to just kind of snap out of it for the sake of the project. Let's be fucking real here. You weren't joking when you said it feels like literally nothing's happened this year. Myself and a lot of the former team that I brought back feel the exact same way. So that was a big part of my video, that they've literally regressed. It's no wonder people aren't giving them money anymore, and by people I mean Tencent, of course. Which means that they are now basically on a short timer. They don't have a lot of runway left before they just, fucking explode, right? They're not going to take off. If they can't get this game onto Steam and money coming in from people and maybe restore some confidence to the point where they get more investment, this is it now. Like, they've rehired these people, not the people that they wanted in a lot of circumstances. They're basically retreading old ground. Bear in mind, again, contextually, they removed or reworked work of people who left the studio before. And for the entire of 2022, which for a studio of, a sizable number of people would have been a lot of money in payroll. I'm not going to look up the stats of how many people they've got and average salaries out, but I'm guessing, hundreds of thousands on the low end, millions on the medium to high end, spent doing nothing. Doing absolutely nothing. And then, of course, to say, oh, I would like to go into depth, but I want to be professional, and then just go into your Discord and be unprofessional. Doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. But I thought people would like an update on this, because the whole Dead Matter saga is turning into something that maybe I'll have to remake the video at some point when the studio closes or when the game doesn't come out and it all, ceases to exist. Or maybe it'll be a redemption arc if the team members that came back can, bring it back from the brink. But what you've got to realize is there was a reason that the people left and that Nick had to hire somebody to come in to be the head of the studio, and it's because it was already so dysfunctional and nothing good was going on, and there was a lot of damning reviews from people on like Glassdoor and of course behind the scenes of the company before Derek came in. So doing like a comeback tour of your now 60-year-old men that used to be a good band in like the fucking 50s or something, I don't really see how this works out, because you've tried that, it didn't work, and now you've just wasted a whole bunch of money and been like, it was shit a couple months ago. It was really, really shit, but it was slightly less shit than it was 2 years ago, so we'll go back to that and just hope that's the winning strategy. Not really it for me, but, I'm not running the studio, so maybe this dude knows better, and maybe this does come to fruition. But I would say with pretty high certainty from looking at things like this, speaking to people behind the scenes, etc., I'd write this one off big time. But there you go, that's Dead Matter. It seems to be a bit of a dead matter, but they did address me in this one. The game is not dead, so there you go. They're just running out of money, and might be sooner rather than later if this doesn't pan out, and if they don't get something that's actually good out on Steam. Because typically if this does come out, people have said graphics have regressed, gameplay's regressed, they limited the map down to something like a tenth of the size that it was supposed to be in the initial alpha. If this comes out and gets bad reviews on Steam, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So there you go, thanks for watching, see you next time, peace out.